jump into the first part of this conversation, right? Which is how do we sort of think about what customer experience is? It'd be helpful to understand from you a little bit, and we do this for all of the different sessions, is to get a little bit of a definition on how do you define customer experience, customer success, and I thought that it might be fundamentally different today than it has been in the past, but would be great to get your perspective on what has changed and why it's all the more important to take care of CX today.
It for me, customer experience is the other side of the marketing promise, right? Which is, what is it that you are promising to the customer? Are you delivering on it, and are you exceeding their expectations, rather than over promising and under delivering, right? And honestly, CX is not a function. It can be a monitoring function. Of course, there are CX monitoring functions in organizations, but truly CX has to be delivered by every part of the organization, right? Think talking about in the digital world, has it changed? Honestly, with my definition, it doesn't, because conceptually it still remains the same, right? Earlier, you said that this product will stop dandruff in 20 days. Let's imagine how brands used to make promises, right? Now, if you delivered on that promise, you delivered great customer expectation. If you didn't, you didn't. Offline, you would say store experience, right? Like, how would you, if you went into a retail store, was the experience good? Were you treated well? Was the ambience good? Today, you would say it's platform experience, all the things which Rishika spoke about, right? Again, offline you would say availability, online you would say selection. So I don't think that what customer experience truly or conceptually is has changed a lot. It's just that how it manifests has definitely changed. What we call the different things has definitely changed. And how you measure it, and we'll talk about that, I think, a little bit as we go along, is also something which is changing, right? So yeah, for me it's delivery on promise, right? And that's how I look at how to keep customers happy and satisfied. The next step is customer delight, which also some folks spoke about, which is how do you go over and above and create delight, is the next step. But for me, the foundation of it is sticking to your promise.
And Sulakshana, maybe looking at this, right? Previously, a brand had to make a product, it had to deliver on the promise. Now, in the digital age, you have to deliver on the buying experience. You have to deliver on the delivery experience. You have to deliver
Yeah,
on the payment experience, right? You have to deliver on
yeah.
the returns experience. So maybe my question was, are there now more promises that a brand has to potentially deliver on beyond just the core product, which is where ops and the kind of work that you and your teams have been doing throughout all of these three different businesses is becoming all the more critical. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about, what are some of these factors or different aspects of customer experience today that, contribute towards shaping a brand and
Yeah,
how you think about that.
I think different factors today, and I'll speak a bit more from a retailer perspective, right? Because that's the perspective that I have. Just like Rishika said, it's episodes, right? Which is what are the different ways in which you can break a customer journey and kind of look at what the experience is in each part of the journey, right? And it starts from the time they download the app till the time they use the product. So typically, four or five episodes, depending on the type of business model there is. There will be the time when they come in. Is their onboarding journey good? Is their platform experience good? Right now, if your promise to the customer is that you will have widest selection, do you factually actually have the widest selection? That becomes a point of customer experience, right? Then the next comes the delivery experience. So you promise the customer that you will deliver it in the next 2 days. Did you deliver it in the next 2 days? The next part comes the returns experience, right? You said you would pick it up in the next 3 days. Did you? Did the customer get the refund? Um, and honestly, these are problems which have been well solved by the larger platforms. But if you see in the D2C space, there's still, while there are a lot of third party providers, that portion of the experience is actually not fully solved. There's a lot of return hassle, there's a lot of breakage point in the return experience. Then the contact center, where if you are calling and you say your query should be resolved in the next 2 days, is it resolved in the next 2 days? And usage experience, is the product of good quality, right? Which is, like you said, Rohit, probably one of the key aspects of customer experience before. Though I would still argue that there were different touch points, they were just called differently. Like today, I would call it a delivery experience because there's a supply chain team who's delivering it from warehouse to home. But then I would have called it a checkout experience at the retail store, right? Is the line very long? Is the operation working seamlessly? Did they have change for me to make the payment smoothly, right? So that's why I said the concept of episodes remains the same. The episodes may be different. I don't think that it is more or less than before. I just think that they are different from before. Scrutiny is of course higher, right? And the way in which bad experiences can spiral out of hand is definitely a lot more today than it was before, just because of the internet and social media. I sound like an old person.
No, got it. Thank you. That's super helpful.
Yeah.
To get that that sort of context. And
Hmm.
if you were to sort of start, now looking into, now that we've established the foundation, the base, of this conversation and the context here, and I think everyone's also had a chance to get some of what they wanted to say out. Let's start looking right at operations X customer success, right? So maybe the first question to you is, all of these things, right, such as operations efficiency, delivering things on time, the supply chain experience being good, and really a lot of the stuff that you have to do in the back end, right, to ensure that all of these points of customer delight are delivered as promised. What is the role that you see of operations playing in this, right? So product, manufacturing, marketing, all of that is one very, very important part. But then somebody has to actually do and deliver on top of all of these things. So it would be helpful to get some perspective from you on what role, as an overarching sort of concept, before we get into the more specific questions and examples of,
Yeah.
why is ops important for customer
I
experience?
think, Rohit, you answered my question, right? It's like we ops are the people who are actually delivering things to the customer. I think that in the new age space, especially, I think um, what gets a lot of focus is growth, and where growth is coming from, where user growth is coming from, where revenue growth is coming from. But the core of it always remains that the growth is coming, but it's coming because it's getting delivered, right? Someone is manufacturing the product, someone is delivering the products, and that's what operations does. Now, I'll give you an example, right? And sometimes it's very esoteric to imagine that you are working on a certain part of operations somewhere in the back end, and how is it that I'm affecting the customer, right? I'll take an example of, say, a first mile delivery, right? The vendor is shipping out the products, the delivery is happening to the warehouses. Now, how does this connect to customer experience? So I think at any whatever part of the organization that you are in, you can draw the line which leads you to how you are impacting customer experience, right? So for this particular example that I'm picking up, what we're trying, how do you affect customer experience? The when a customer places the order, the products need to be in the warehouse closest to them. If it is at the warehouse closest to them, then they are going to get faster delivery, and then they are going to also, the breaches on deliveries will be lesser. So the role here is actually not of the outbound supply chain, right? It is actually of inbound, to make sure that the allocations are right, it is as per the trends of sales, so that the customer is able to get their products quickly. Now, the other upshot of this is, uh, thankfully, in this particular case, it costs less also to do this. That would not be the case in all customer experience initiatives. But in this case, it also costs less, which means that it is more efficient to distribute your products in that manner. But it is also directly impacting customer experience because A, they have availability in their closest warehouse. B, they have the time in which it takes to deliver these products is also lesser, right? So similarly, I think whatever portion or whatever piece of you are working on in operations or any other part of the org, I think drawing that line to customer experience is possible. And in 70 to 80% of the cases, you will find that doing that job well and efficiently will lead to better customer experience.
Got it. Got it.